lot of small business owners work hard at marketing. Yawn. The problem is they struggle because they are locked into the wrong marketing habits. In this episode of MLM, we break down the patterns that quietly slow growth, from inconsistent posting and weak follow-up to constantly changing direction and relying too heavily on HOPE. The goal is to help business owners recognize where their routines are hurting them and what strong marketing habits look like instead. This is an episode about replacing busy work with behaviors that actually build awareness, trust, and sales over time. He's Matt Hansen. How you doing, Matt?
I'm good. Welcome back, Tim.
I'm Jim Diedlow. We are coming at you from Radio Center in Hammond, Indiana. Matt's been in digital marketing and a professor for a very long time. And I've had my own media company for 22 years now. And so we just try to tell you all the mistakes that we made so that you don't make them. And that's really
exactly
what
we do,
right?
Yeah.
And people, more and more of you are finding us, but you can go to Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to see the video form of this, you go to WJOB 1230 on YouTube. Now, before we do that, can we revisit what the funnel is?
Sure. So the way we look at funnels are you've got awareness, right? So people need to be aware of who your company is. And then once they're aware of you, they can start to consider whether or not they're going to purchase from you, right? Whether it's a product or a service, we go into consideration. And then there's a variety of different ways that you can look at the bottom of the funnel, right? Whether it's trial or taking a free trial or becoming a customer. And then we start to look at lifetime value and keeping people around. So many times when we're talking about small businesses, it's about the awareness side, top of funnel and generating enough awareness that people know about them, know where to find them. But, as you go through it, you've got different strategies, different parts of the funnel. So we kind of cover all of that on this podcast. And, I think it's valuable to understand each and every part of it.
All right. So as we often do, we start out with some talk about social and your business. And as we look at the funnel, awareness, consideration, close in some sort, whether it's a trial, whatever it is. The bottom of the funnel is a little more vague, but the two top levels they don't really change from business to business. But a lot of people have different views on what they should be doing to create that awareness on social media, paid versus unpaid, every day versus once a month. Let's start there.
Yeah, I could start with a story. Maybe we introduce Riley first. I brought last week.
I wasn't sure if you were introducing.
Yeah, we're going to
Riley,
introduce
or
her.
She was just supposed to sit there.
Yeah. So last week we had my son Ryan on, and today Riley's on spring break. So I decided to bring her in and introduce her to the podcast world. So welcome, Riley.
Hello.
So hold on a second, Riley. This is media, and when these athletes are getting all interviewed in the NCAA and high school, IHSAA, they are all coached that no matter what happens, you do not answer one word. When somebody asks you a question, you got to say, "Oh, hey, it's good to be here. It's really nice. I've never done this before." Just some sort of comment.
My dad made me do this.
Yes.
I'm now a pro podcaster after today.
There you go. And you are a senior in high school, correct?
Yes.
And what do you want to do when you grow up?
I want to be an oncologist when I grow up.
Okay, and is there a reason for that? Was there some sort of family cancer or something?
Yeah, a lot, actually. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, same here. It's a kind of a very cancerous family in more ways than one. No, it's toxic family, but there's a lot of cancer. My little brother is a radiologist specializing in oncology, and that was definitely the push. My mom died of cancer, 20-some years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah, and but it was a long trek, and there were problems in my brother's like, man, they really screwed this up, they screwed that up. And then one day he's like working in a halfway house in Bloomington. He's 30 years old. He says, I want to be an oncologist. I'm like, okay. So he's been doing that, and it starts with often some sadness. So thank you for joining us. You do not want to be a professional podcaster about marketing.
Not at the moment.
Well,
okay.
You mentioned social. She definitely knows social, but let's jump in. So I've got this one person that I'm dealing with recently, and they're getting frustrated. And what I mean by that is the company that they work for typically just does owned social marketing, right? There's no paid, there's nothing that's going out, there's no mailers, there's no paid digital, there's really nothing other than just the owned social accounts that they have. And they're asking me, for advice and what we can do. And I said, well, let's look at the own part of it and really, what are your goals? And their goals are to sell something. When we look at what they're promoting, what they're doing out on social, it's not directly tied to any kind of conversion, right? So it's more of just the awareness, the high level. But when you're talking about an own social account, those are your followers. It's going to serve it up to other people that are outside of your followers, but most of the time it's just those individuals. So what we're understanding with this is you're promoting the same message over and over and over again to those that already follow you, that already know who you are, and they're not getting the additional conversions coming out of it. They're actually seeing a decline in sales right now. So the frustration is there, but you've got an internal battle going on where one is saying, well, no, we're going to continue doing what we're doing. And another person is saying, you're not tying this to the conversions that we need, which are going to keep us alive in the long run.
So, all right, let's go through some of the steps to build that awareness, to bring back some of their, obviously, if all they're doing is posting on their owned social, they're not buying any ads, they're not, reaching out to new customers. And we've gone through that in many of the 128 podcasts. But one of the things that we haven't necessarily hit was consistency. And I know that when you looked at our business, that is a major problem and has been a major problem that we're addressing right now. And it's kind of hard because you got so many different things to do. It's like fits and starts. Most of the small to medium-sized business owners or people in marketing have so many roles, so they almost like lose focus and can't be consistent. What do you say to them?
I think you need to create some habits in your marketing. So I have said this countless times, create some kind of paid account that's driving awareness, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it, right? Spend $5 a day, see what happens. One of the lawyers that I work with is currently doing a campaign where we literally just spend $5 a day. And every couple weeks I ask him, how's it doing? And he goes, well, we're getting more phone calls. We've tied it to additional work. We're not doing anything. It's running, and it's small, but it's consistent. So people see us over and over and over again. So when you look at the metrics of it, spending $5 a day, I looked at it this week, the average frequency of the audience that he's going after and the market that he's going after is about 1.3. So that means every single person in that market is seeing his ad 1.3 times on average. So think about that, right? Like if you could put an ad in front of everybody in the market, every target audience that you're going after for at least one time as the campaign is running, that's good, right? That's better than zero. It would be more ideal to have it at 7, 8, 9, but they can't find you if you're not out there. So unless you're posting consistently and it's being served up to a bunch of different people, you're just not going to get the awareness of it. So setting small habits, set it, and I don't want to say set it and forget it, because what we set it, and the nice part, it's a Facebook and Instagram campaign. And the nice part is we mentioned last year that Meta was going to an AI model, which would allow you to do everything AI. So we had one single ad that we were running. It wasn't anything special. And we got the notification, okay, well, we now have 15 additional ads that you can choose from that we've used AI to generate. And I went into it and I looked at it, and it's not perfect, right? So he's a local guy. He's not in a big city. I would say probably 5 of them had skyscrapers in the background, which makes no sense. But there were 2 or 3 other ones in there that we actually lifted and said, okay, well, let's put those into the ad rotation. And I keep checking back every couple weeks and saying, okay, well, are there new ones that are being generated? And it's a simple $5 a day campaign. He doesn't think about it. He lets me run it for him. And, I check in every so often and we make some modifications and things like that. But he's being consistent at this point, and he's seeing the increase in it. It's the ones that I'm going to launch a $200 campaign and see what happens. Nothing worked. Nothing happened, right? And you hear that so often. And I always say, instead of just spending $200 in a matter of 5 days, why don't you just spread that out over a month and see what happens, and then do it again and again and again. But most people, they want it all now. I mean, it goes back to social media and how we want everything on our phones instantaneous at this point, which we could go into a long, probably 4 or 5 episodes on that. But the inconsistency in marketing is killing the awareness, is killing the conversions for your customers, because you're trying to just do it all at one time instead of spreading it out over time. So I think here's a perfect example of that. Occasionally I'll put something on eBay, and instead of putting it as an auction, I'll put it as a buy it now. And if you watch it, you'll get a number of people that will actually see the listing that you put out there, and they'll start to watch it. Now, mind you, I don't put it at a discount on there. I want a certain price for it, and this is what I'm willing to take for it. And it may take a month, it may take 3 months to get somebody to buy it, but I'm also making 16, 17% on what I sell on there. And okay, I'll wait for that to come in. I'm not going to sell it at a loss. So I think what we're saying here is, over the long haul on eBay, I can post something and just let it sit, and it's going to continually be served up to individuals. It's the same way with social media or any other paid marketing that you're doing. Do small increments, make sure you spread it out over the long term, and be consistent. Don't just try and do it over a weekend.
Well, that begs the question of duration.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't want to just set it and let it go for 7 months and you never adjusted anything. Right. But you also want to have consistency where you're able, what do you tell people about duration?
Yeah, I again, people, they want short, quick results, and you've got to do things over an entire 12-month period. Now, I get there's seasonality and things like that. I mean, especially in your business with football and basketball, and then baseball is kind of coming up. But once you hit the summer in high school sports, there's not a whole lot to talk about, right? But from a duration standpoint, I think people need to put content out there. They need to pay attention to it. The days are over of just putting something out there, set it and forget it. I think the algorithms at this point are actually penalizing things that have been sitting for a long time. So we had a client that we were working with where we would just put the ads out there and they could not keep up with the comments. And over the last, I would say 2 months, 3 months, they're not seeing the same results because we weren't changing things up as often. So now we have to change them more often because it's just there's some drastic changes going on out there. So pay attention to it. But again, go for a long period. Don't try the short weekend approach because it's just not going to work.
So one of the things we talk about on a regular basis is, all right, here you are, you're a small to medium-sized business. I'm racked with things to do, and I want to get customers here. I want to get customers in this income level. I want to get customers from this side of the state line. Oh, I should probably try to get some from the other side of the state line. So I should probably be on Facebook. I should probably be on Instagram. I should probably buy some local ads on cable or put a billboard. Anybody who listens to this on a regular basis knows exactly what the answer is going to be. But, what do you say to people that are kind of spraying the infield?
Well, let's be honest. If you're putting very little effort into a ton of different things, you're a trader, right? So let's go back to the trading field. If you go out there and you buy 100 stocks today and you try and pay attention to all of them and what's going on, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, you're going to lose money instantly because you just can't focus that way, right?
Three was the max.
Right.
One is good, maybe two, but they coach you never to have more than 3 avenues that you have to pay attention to.
Right. Well, Riley and I were talking on the drive-in about people that have multiple siblings, right? So think about that. If you have one child, I was an only child until my dad got remarried. Then I have a half brother. But growing up, I was I know it's funny to think about this, but I was the focus of the family. And then, then you have people that have 15 siblings, and you're just kind of like, how do you even pay attention to that much, right? And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you can't put the same amount of effort into understanding what's going on with each one of them. So it's more or less like, I know they're there, I know things are happening, but I can't spend 24/7 of my time focused on that each one of them. So I don't know. Pay attention to less. You said 3. I think 3 is ideal. I wouldn't go anything larger. Many times I hear people, we're going to do 7, 8, 9, 10 different things, and I go, okay, that's fine as long as they're automated. You got to figure this out. But I don't know. It's just,
we were just talking about should we be everywhere, and I don't want to interject you, but I basically channel my inner Hanson all the time and say, well, Matt would say, you got to get good at one.
Yeah.
And that has been so many of these podcasts, and it has really changed our business. I'm like, I need to get good at this piece and before we try anything else, even though you could get benefits from the other part. And that's hard for the small to medium-sized business person who's used to just spraying and doing this and doing that. It's like, all right, here I am. I want to build awareness. I'm going to build awareness here, and I'm going to get good at it. You also, in building your habits and your routines, you have to track things. And that is something that a lot of people don't want to do. No. They're just like, yeah, well, I'm getting enough sales. I'm not worried about it. That's all wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I talk to probably, I would say 80, 90% of the companies that I talk to don't track anything. And it's gut-wrenching because when I start asking them, well, all right, well, if we were to track this and we were to improve this by 1%, that would actually add 20% to your bottom line. And they go, well, it may. It's just they don't want to be kind of called out on it. But I had the client that we opened with today, I had a conversation with them yesterday, and they asked me, can we build a funnel with the data that you have? And I said, absolutely. Let's build that funnel. Let's start measuring where we're at, because then you'll know where, if you put money into this, what the expectation is. So, as I run the digital marketing competition, which is a, undergraduate digital competition for students across the world, and
the deadline has passed.
It has passed, yeah.
So
which is fine because we had almost 300 entries from across the world. But when I look at that, the students that are coming out at this point, you have some that will just kind of ho-hum about metrics, and we're going to measure these things. And then you have some that go so deep into it. I had one that I was watching earlier, and they dove into even the ingredients of the company to compare it to the target audience and their needs. And they're measuring everything at this point. And I think if you're not measuring, you're never going to grow a business. You don't, and we quote Marcus Lemonis a lot on this, but he always says, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business. And it's so true, because if you don't know what you're doing, you're going to waste money left and right.
So as a illustration of that, Matt came in and looked at us in a sports streaming company that is just growing exponentially. And all we have been doing is chasing growth, and we have found it. Mm-hmm. And we have found it, it wasn't at great CAC, customer acquisition costs, but the growth is coming, and we basically built into a VC about 5 to 7% loss, which is really kind of about where they want you to be. But we made one mistake all the way through. And now we're starting a podcast network, and we will not make this mistake. And that is we did not track. And now Hunter and I have been going for 2 weeks, just going back and trying to look at all the numbers and put them on spreadsheets and track and aggregate fragmented media. It will be so much easier when Adriana goes along. She's taking your class, of course, that helps. But you got to track from the beginning. Even if you're buying $5 a day and you're the lawyer, said, all right, I'm at 1.3 of my target audience. Not too bad. All right, let's spend $10. Okay, then let's track it. Now we're over 2, that kind of stuff. So I can tell you from personal mistakes, do not wait too long to start tracking the marketing that you're doing.
Right. Well, it's funny. I've got Riley sitting next to me, and Riley is not in marketing. And, you know, you're going to go into the medical field, but do you track things?
Yeah, I'm a really big fan of spreadsheets, to be honest.
So
Google or Microsoft?
Google.
Of course. Way better. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The formulas are easier. Yeah.
So we it's funny. We don't know where she's going to school yet, but we actually have a Google sheet that we have created that will literally calculate what she owes for each school that she's getting in. So we have I think it's 12?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So there's 12 schools in there, and it's, tuition, room and board, food, scholarship 1, scholarship 2, and then it calculates what we would owe every single year and then what we would owe for 4 years, right? So you're 18 years old, you're in high school, you do this for not only getting into school, but you did it for all the application stuff.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, for my applications, when I was looking where I wanted to apply, I actually put down every single average stat, and then I colored it green if I had it, and then I applied to the ones where it was all green.
I know that sounds a little bit far, okay, for the average small to medium-sized business that we're talking to. But there is many of you out there that do none of that. You're like, yeah, if you were applying to med school, you'd be like, they sound pretty good. I would just go. Yep. That's how many of us run our business. And quite frankly, that's how I ran it until you came in. And it's like, dude, you got all these numbers. You have to aggregate. You have to track. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. That sounds boring. And then when you get into the data, you're like, this is the coolest thing ever. And that's what I want to tell you, small to medium-sized business people. This is fun. I hate to put it that way.
It's fun. So Riley did all of this stuff, and I know it's not marketing, but understanding where you are, where you stand against other competitors, because that's what we're talking about, right? So it was each school, GPAs, ACT, SAT, all of those types of things. But she tracked all of that because she wanted to know where she stood. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's a lot of data. Is it going to pay off?" Well, I'm going to brag. She's 7 for 8 with her applications, right?
You have a market fit.
She found where she needs to go, what she needs to do, and she has been extremely successful, right?
So, congratulations, by the way, 7 of 8. What's number 1?
Oh, that's the question.
Oh,
I hope it's IU.
I'm afraid IU is not on there.
Oh. My niece is orthopedic surgeon in her second or third year down there in Indianapolis. Yeah. She's a total wreck. I mean, I did not know it was such highly rated and so difficult. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't mean to scare you off, but I haven't seen her in a year and a half, and she's my goddaughter. Oh, so anyways, so you went through and applied what your dad's been teaching about marketing, and you've been listening, and people call him, and you hear it. And he's, all right, what are the numbers? What are the numbers? What are the numbers? I took his classes. I know that game. And now he's applied it to our business and shown that we have basically wasted 2 or 3 years not tracking these things. So that's a great attitude that can be shifted over to marketing. Mm-hmm. The attitude is there's so much data now and it's so easy to get. Your average small to medium-sized business person is thinking 10 or 20 years ago when how difficult it was. I mean, you're taking receipts and you're adding them up on an adding machine and all that. No, man. Boom. QuickBooks will do it for all that you do. Method, we use Method, which is attached to QuickBooks. CAC is easy, CLTV, all of those things.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you're looking at them, you're like, man, this is good, or ooh, I got some work to do.
Right. Well, you know, and again, going back to the digital marketing competition with our client in there, they gave the students the customer acquisition costs, the lifetime value, all of the data that they needed. So for you to take a, you know, we give them a $250,000 budget. I know that's a lot of money, but it's a lot of money for some small businesses. Let me put it that way. But you know, when we look at it and you spend $250,000 and you understand the metrics, you know what should spit out on the other side. You know, you should have X number of customers. You know, what should actually work and what shouldn't. But again, we're just trying to educate you to understand your numbers for your business, but also for your marketing, because you can make. It's almost a cheat code. It really is.
It is a cheat code in terms of that attitude that Riley has toward data, which is something that Adriana here has a real, a thirst for data. And I'm late to the game, but now I'm like loving it. Okay. But I know one other part that you have been critical of our process, and we're hitting habits, routines. The guy sitting in there. This is the only break I take from 8:30 to 1 every day now, okay? And it's not just time, there's a habit. But I haven't been able to get to this one, and that is we just don't have good follow-up yet. And you need to tell me and all the other people that are listening to this while they're doing 4 other different things, how do you follow up? There's a lead out there. I mean, how many times did you go, hey, we should probably talk to, oh, yeah, I know that guy. He called me, and he asked, oh, yeah, we're supposed to give him a quote. And we never did, and that was 2 years ago. And that's really a bad story to tell. What do you tell that person?
So somebody has come to you, made a phone call, walked in your store, sent you an email, whatever it is. They're basically telling you, take my money. That's what they're doing. And if you don't sell them right at that moment, you have to realize that there are a series of follow-ups, a series of processes that you must do to get them to relinquish control of their money, right? And I'm saying that in a positive way. When you first meet with them, if they're not buying, then you haven't solved whatever pain point they have. They're not comfortable enough to release the money to you, and they're not going to go with you. So what is the follow-up process that you have developed? Is it an email? Is it a phone call? Are you stopping by their house to say, hey, I just wanted to follow up? I don't know what your process is, but I would say 95% of businesses don't have a process. So ideally, where we are heading, especially in the digital world, is automation has become key, right? So somebody enters, puts in information, I want to get a quote on this. We expect instantaneous results, right? So if somebody fills something out on your website and I want a quote on this, they're not willing to wait for days to get that quote back. They want an automated response coming back.
It needs to go right to somebody's cell phone right now. And if they're out for dinner, they need to go in their car and put together that quote and send it.
But even just a simple email that comes back that says, hey, we've received it. Matt is currently working on it. We'll have it to you within the next 24 hours. Look for our phone call. This is the number it'll be coming from. That's all automated. But that gives you 24 hours to get back to them if you really want, if that's the timeline. But nobody is setting that up, right? The form comes in, it sits in an inbox, it maybe goes to a spam folder. Oh, shoot, there it is. I should have gotten back to them 2 weeks ago. They're long gone at that point. So you've just burned that entire lead.
We record this live on AM 1230 and 104.7 here in the Chicago area. And I almost fell off my chair when you went, shh. Because we had a guy in an earlier show not use shoot.
Nope.
Use a different word.
Yep.
So thank you for cleaning it up, because I know
better.
I know casually you would use the other word.
Yeah.
Hey, sum up habits, routines, processes. Boring, but not boring.
Boring, but not boring, right? So the way that I would look at this is, is there something that you don't do during the day that you're just like, man, I wish we had this set up? And just take that first step and just go, all right, if if I wanted to solve this, if I wanted to get this off my plate, if I didn't want to answer certain things, is there some kind of automation that I can do? But, figure out one thing you can change right now. We talk a lot about AI, and I don't even want to go into where I'm at right now on some of the things. But
same here. We went. So, you're a professor trying to get people jobs and stuff. We put a moratorium on interns, and we always took 3 over the summer. No new employees because AI is our new employee, and I hate to put it that way. I don't know what's going to happen to all these people coming out with marketing degrees.
What I'm telling the students right now is you need to understand AI, and you have to show how you are using it, because that will get you the job. They need somebody because most companies, and I'm saying all the way up to the Fortune 500, don't necessarily understand the capabilities of it, but they're looking for somebody to explain it to them. And if you are a student coming out of school, or if you're just somebody looking for a job, if you just understand a few basics of AI and how to automate some processes, you will actually stand at the top of that list. That's what people are hiring right now.
We got to call it. Our producer and the head of the podcast network here is also graduating from Purdue and is in your class, and you chose podcasts as the exit class out of Purdue.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh, it's fun. I think the fact that they have to build their own podcast and they have literally nothing to start with, but you give them all the tools, is the most fun part, because they went in a variety of directions. They're marketing it. We have the comparison numbers that we put on the board every single time so they can see where they are in comparison to the other people. I still brag about our numbers in front of them, so it drives them nuts. But yeah.
Australia's, hey, down under, thank you. It's the same principles, but whoever's sharing us in Australia, thank you.
Yeah, I never thought that Australia would be bigger than Canada, but we have more listeners in Australia than Canada. So
he's Matt Hansen. I'm Jim Diedlow. Until next time, see you later.